everyone, this is Colleen Lemma, Starseed Astrologer and Spiritual Messenger from SacredSoulEmpowerment.com, here to do your weekly angel card reading for Monday, December 19th through Sunday, December 25th, 2016. Getting very close to the end of the year, and this week is very significant because we are going to be experiencing the Winter Solstice in this week, and of course also Christmas in this week. So a lot of interesting things happening, which we will get to in just a moment. But let's look at your stones of choice, and I also want to make mention that we are going to be using the Angel Tarot deck by Doreen Virtue for this week's reading, and your special message card, depending on your stone of choice, is going to be coming from the Messages from Your Angels by Doreen Virtue. And I felt because we are having a very special week this week with the Winter Solstice that I would choose a special message card here for everyone for the week, besides your own individualized special message card. So to look at your stones of choice, your first stone of choice is a Smoky Quartz. Now, you might notice that I chose all dark stones, and that's because of the Winter Solstice being the longest night of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere. And so, to me, these dark stones indicate this darkest night of the year, but I'm going to intuitively give you a little bit of information about each one of these stones so you can decide which one seems to fit for you or which one you would like to choose. The Smoky Quartz, if you can see, it's a really dark brown stone, but there's portions of it that have light in it, light brown. And to me, the light here, the light in the middle of this stone, is significant of the turning point that we're coming into. After the winter solstice, the sun starts to grow again. We start to see more and more sunlight, more and more light starts to come in. And this stone for me is signifying that. So you can see that light in the middle, and it's almost like it's spreading out. It's spreading out to cover the whole stone so that there's light coming back into your life. There's light that is shining upon the darkness that we have gone through. And I don't mean that in an ominous way, but the darkness meaning that we've been in a period of self-reflection and that we've been in this period of healing and purging, especially in the last few weeks. So now we're going to have that light again. Your second stone of choice, again, another dark stone, but this is jet. And there's all kinds of dark stones, but I chose the jet because it's fossilized wood. And because it's fossilized wood, it's really light. It's light in its weight, okay? So normal crystals and stones are heavier than this jet stone. And because the jet, just like amber is fossilized resin from a tree, and it's also very light in its weight, the jet, because it's fossilized wood, is also light. And I chose this stone to remind us that the heavy emotions that we've been feeling, the even heavy thoughts or belief systems that we've been carrying around, that we've been attending to and contemplating and going through a healing process with, they're not as heavy as we've made them out to be. They're not as heavy as we think. There's a lightness to them, or they're getting lighter as we're moving towards the end of the year. So this is signifying that all the heavy energies that you may have been carrying around and that we've been, again, working on healing is becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. Okay, and then we have, for the third stone of choice, one of my favorites is Labradorite. Now, Labradorite is a dark stone, and oftentimes, and you can see as I'm kind of moving it around, you can see that kind of glowing energy. Sometimes it glows a little bit green, and sometimes there's a blue tint to it. This one happens to have a lot of blue in it. But this is kind of a reflection here that you can see. And again, I'm choosing this stone, the Labradorite, to show us that we're going to start reflecting the light again in our life, again after this winter solstice this week. The sun, you know, we start to have more and more daylight in our days. The longest night of the year will have, you know, passed, and we'll start to get our longer amount of daylight hours. And so this is signifying that we're going to start being able to reflect the light, to reflect our blessings, to reflect our gifts out into the world. And a little bit of magic too. You know, this kind of signifies to me that reflective light is kind of magical and otherworldly. Okay, so again, your stones of choice are the Smoky Quartz, the Jet, and the Labradorite. So let's talk about the astrological energies for this week. On Monday the 19th, Mars, the planet of action and energy, we call him the warrior planet, is actually moving into the sign of Pisces. Now Pisces is a water sign, and it's all about unconditional love and compassion and selfless service to other people. So you're taking a fiery warrior planet like Mars and you're putting it into this compassionate, unconditionally loving sign of Pisces. And so it usually doesn't fit very well, but I like to say that this is the placement of the spiritual warrior. You know, we're taking that energy and action and forward momentum of Mars. We're taking that warrior nature of Mars and putting it in this very spiritual, loving sign. So this is the time period that we become the spiritual warrior, and it's going to be in Pisces for a little while. I actually forgot to look at the exact day that it will transition out of Pisces, but I believe it's going to be in Pisces through all of the month of January as well. So you got a little bit of time to be the spiritual warrior. Now on the same day, Monday the 19th, Mercury officially goes retrograde, okay? It's going to be retrograde through about the middle of January before it turns to direct motion. But Mercury has been at its shadow since December 1st. And so you may have already been experiencing a lot of miscommunication or missed appointments or misunderstandings or electronical issues, things with computers and phones and even cars that have been going a little haywire. I've actually had my heater where I live has been on the funk, and I had to have someone come in and attend to fixing the heating element. I also had something with my computer go a little haywire and had to have that fixed already in this month. So Mercury officially goes retrograde, and it's that time to self-reflect. You know, it turns the energies of Mercury inward, which is all about our thoughts, how we communicate, you know, what we think, the ideas we come up with. So again, we're internalizing that energy, and it becomes much more self-reflective, and it's good for research and reorganization and redoing and reviewing things. And it's all those RE words that come into play when Mercury goes retrograde. Now it goes retrograde in Capricorn. It's very close to making a conjunction with Pluto. It's only a degree away as it turns retrograde, which is very significant, I think, as well, because Pluto is that planet of transformation and death and rebirth. So there's something going on that needs to go through this death and rebirth process as far as our thinking, as far as how we think within ourselves or believe or communicate within ourselves. And by the time Mercury goes direct later in January and then connects with Pluto exactly, then that transformation will be complete and there'll be a rebirth of the way that we think. Wednesday the 21st is when we have the winter solstice. This is when the sun is moving into the sign of Capricorn. Okay, so this happens every year around this time. The sun moves into Capricorn. It signifies the winter solstice, the darkest night of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. For those of you that live in Australia and in the Southern Hemisphere, you actually have the longest day of daylight. And you're going through your summertime as we here in the Northern Hemisphere are going through our winter time. But this is, again, a time of self-reflection. When we're in that winter solstice time period, that, you know, we're in this time of death and rebirth, releasing and getting ready for the light to start coming back in. So it's definitely about rebirth energy. We're in a turning point to move towards this rebirth. A lot of times people will set intentions on the winter solstice. This is a time, again, to spend some time alone and self-reflect. And I know a lot of people that make lists out every winter solstice. They almost like write a letter to themselves and make a list of intentions that they then seal or put in a special place, maybe on their altar or something, of things that they desire to manifest over the next year, as you know, starting on that winter solstice day of December 21st. So you might want to do that as well. And a lot of people will go back and on the winter solstice, they'll read the letter or they'll read the list that they wrote the year before to see how many things that they wrote down on the list actually came into fruition or came into manifestation. So that's something that might interest you in doing. But know that this is a time of rebirth. This is a time to rejoice because the light is going to start coming back into our lives. On the 24th of December, interestingly enough, this is Christmas Eve day, but Saturn is making a positive connection to Uranus. Now, whenever we talk about Saturn, a lot of us think of restriction and limitation and karmic lessons. But Saturn is also about form and structure and bringing things into manifestation, and it is a positive connection to Uranus. Now, Saturn is the old third dimensional energies, and Uranus is the new paradigm of energies. It's a higher dimension of energies. So I feel like this Saturn trining Uranus, and it's very timely because it occurs just, you know, a few days after the winter solstice. This is going to start bridging the old energies of what we need to release and bridge it to the new energy or the new paradigm or the higher way of seeing and thinking and believing. Uranus is God mind energy. You know, it's using creative visualization energy to create a new and better way for humanity. And so I feel like this Saturn trine Uranus, which by the way is the first time that these two planets connect in this way, it's actually going to connect or be with an orb all throughout 2017. You know, in our year of new beginnings of 2017, Saturn and Uranus are going to be dancing with each other all year. So this is really bridging that energy for us. Now, on Sunday the 25th, of course, it's Christmas Day. We have Venus, which rules love and affection and attention and our values, our money, our finances, and it's in a positive aspect to Jupiter. These are considered the two benefics. Jupiter is the greater benefic or the greater beneficial planet. It's a planet of blessings and expansion and abundance. And Venus is considered the lesser benefic, also a very beneficial energy, and they're connecting in a positive way with one another on Christmas Day. Venus is also connecting by sextile, which is another positive aspect, to Uranus and to Saturn on that day. So looks like Christmas Day we have a lot of nice energy supporting us in coming together with family and friends and loved ones and in the spirit of Christmas to celebrate for this end of the year, this time of celebration, this time of love. Okay, so that's what's happening astrologically. Let's take a look at our cards here from the Angel Tarot deck and see what they have to say. Okay, so we start out with the Seven of Air. And the Seven of Air says, plans that need revision, more going on than meets the eye, and poor timing. Now, whenever I see the Seven of Air, I always think of self-reflection because the air suit is the mental realm. You know, it's the swords in the traditional tarot. It's the mental realm. It's how we think. It's what our mind is doing. And the number 7 is always about going within, finding the light within yourself. It's a lot of times about hermetizing yourself, so spending a lot of alone time in contemplation and self-reflection about your thoughts, about how, what you're thinking. A lot of times this can be about negative thinking or negative ego mind stuff that comes up. But what catches me is this plans that need revision. I don't want to say that this is heavily negative, but Mercury is going retrograde on Monday. So this would say go with the flow as far as making plans, because when Mercury is retrograde, times get missed or people are late or they get the wrong day or maybe there's traffic that's backed up, whatever it might be, that just kind of slows you down. And it's slowing us down mentally for a reason. So just take your time and just be aware and just go with the flow and be in the moment and allow things to change if need be. and allow that time again for self-reflection, because this is the time of the year for it. Let's go ahead and look at the second card and maybe we'll get more information. Okay, we have another air card. Forgive the my decks are going through a little bit of a beating here, but this is the 10 of air. And again, this is the mental realm. This is the sword suit in the traditional tarot. Now, usually the sword suit, again, is a little bit heavier and tricky, but this is the last of the number cards before we get to the court cards, which would be like the page, the knight, and the queen, and the king. And so we're getting to the end of something, which is good as far as the mental realm of negative thinking. The message at the bottom says the end of a difficult situation. It says, embrace the change and expect things to get better now, recovering from an addiction. So I really feel like, again, this is the last month of the year. This is the week of the winter solstice, you know, the turning point from the longest day of darkness to where the light starts to come back in. And that, again, that statement is very symbolic of the light starting to come back into our lives. It's been pretty heavy for at least the last, month. I want to say on and off all year. It's been kind of a tough year for a lot of people. But in this last month or so, maybe a little longer, we've been doing a lot of healing work, a lot of purging work. Chiron has been busy with us, with the Chiron retrograde, and it went direct on December 1st. And actually right now, Chiron is still in a square aspect to Saturn. It actually becomes exact next week sometime, I believe. So, Chiron, which is our wounds, our past life wounds, and wounds from, previous times in this life where we need healing in our lives, squaring Saturn or challenging Saturn, which is about learning our karmic lessons and releasing the old paradigm of energy and going through these feelings of being limited or restricted, which is all just an illusion, by the way. But nonetheless, we're going through that process of healing these, wounds and old karmic patterns and situations and circumstances. And this is clarifying for us that we're getting to the end of a difficult situation, and embrace the change. It's going to get better now. It's going to start to get better and lighter. Okay, let's look at the last card. The last card, we have a major arcana. This is the Chariot, and here we got that number 7 again. So again, the self-reflection kind of energy here. But the Chariot is Archangel Metatron, and the message at the bottom says, an important advancement, self-discipline and willpower and public recognition. Now, a lot of times we see this card in relation to career or destiny path or life path. And I'm not saying it can't be about that this week too, but I get the sense, and they're telling me, that this is more about an achievement on the spiritual level. This isn't about, the day-to-day aspects of money and career. This is about us coming to the end of this cycle of energy in 2016, and that we've done a lot of good, and that we're continuing to move forward, just like this Chariot with Archangel Metatron here is moving forward with the 2 horses pulling it. It's like we've achieved a lot. We've come into a place where we're being spiritually recognized by our higher selves, our higher God self, of everything that we've gone through, all the healing work that we've done, all the releasing of old energies that, we're in and that we have completed already. And we're moving forward. We're moving forward to a bigger and brighter place. We're still in this time period of contemplation. We're still in this time period of self-reflection with the number 7. But get ready, because we're gearing up to move into 2017. Just in this Chariot is going to bring us into that new energy, that one universal year energy of new beginnings. So we're close. We're very, very close. All right. So again, I did pull a special message card for everyone from the messages from your angels before we get to your individual special message. Let's see what they have to say here. Okay, this is patience. I'm sure a lot of you are going, oh no, patience. But it says, now is the time to learn, study, and gather information. Enjoy being a student, because in the future, you will synthesize your knowledge into action. So I think that's very telling. Again, we're in Mercury retrograde. It is a time to reflect. It is a time to research. It is a time to gather information right now. Have to be patient a little while longer. So I'm not surprised that this came up for this week. And it's not a bad thing because, again, pretty soon we're going to get busy again. Pretty soon we're going to start putting our energies out there in an action form. Whereas this year has been mostly about internalizing and letting go and allowing and just going with the flow and doing a lot of inner soul searching and healing. So a little bit more patience here. And just like it says, in the future, you will synthesize your knowledge into action. So you're going to take all of the healing that you've done, all that you've learned throughout this year, and as we move forward into the next year, we're going to be able to utilize that in some productive way, in some action-oriented way. So here the sun is setting, the angel is standing here in the dusk time, you know, the little bit of a shadow time, the time of darkness, which is this winter solstice. And pretty soon the sun is going to rise again over the horizon, and we're going to start a new day. So very fitting message. Now let's see what your special message is depending on your stone of choice. So for those of you that chose the Smoky Quartz, let's call in our angels and guides and the archangels and ask for Smoky Quartz. And this one right here. Smoky Quartz, wow, something about relationship. Chantal. It says, new romance is imminent, either with a newcomer or through a reignited passion in your existing relationship. Be open to giving and receiving love. So, a couple things. Obviously, this could definitely be bringing in a new partnership very soon. You're getting ready to be open again to love. Now, again, if you're already in a partnership, this is just saying that there's going to be a new beginning within your existing relationship, a new way of loving one another, a new way of expressing to one another, a new way of communicating with one another. But there's going to be some reigniting passion or love energies that are coming into your life. Now, the other thing here is that in this time period of self-reflection that we're in, it would be a good thing for you to think about the giving and receiving of love. Are you open to receiving it? Do you feel worthy and deserving of all, your dreams coming true, or do you feel worthy and deserving of the love that you seek? So really do some contemplation about that and make sure that the giving and receiving is in a balanced state. A lot of us are givers, but we have a hard time receiving. Conversely, maybe some of you are receivers, but you need to learn how to give a little bit more. So there needs to be a balance brought into play there with the giving and the receiving. I also feel like this can be a new love for life, and so it may not have to do with a relationship for some of you, but just falling in love with life again, falling in love with yourself, falling in love with who you are and what you're here to do on this planet, and that may be reignited within you. All right, for those of you that chose the Jet, I'm going to give this a little bit of a shuffle. Okay, I'm drawn to this one actually. So Jet, Crystal, another really good card. Crystal says, have faith and hope because there is something positive and new on the horizon that you can't yet see. Remember that patience card back there in the background where the sun was setting? This one has the sun rising over the horizon. So you're really in a transitional time right now of death and rebirth, and the old is really coming to conclusion quickly, and the new, I believe, is going to come to you just as quickly too. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of weeks you don't see some sort of manifestation of what this new birth is all about, what this wonderful, positive, new energy or new situation is that you just cannot see right now or see yet. I feel like this is something that's going to bring a lot of color back into your life, bring a lot of joy back into your life. So I feel like one thing they're saying right now is believe it. Your belief right now is going to be, or need to be, very strong. That's going to help to create whatever this is. So hold on to that belief and know that that's coming to you. Wonderful, wonderful message. Okay, and then for those of you that chose the Labradorite, okay, Labradorite, okay, this one's popping up. Rochelle, that's another good one. We got really good messages here for everybody. Rochelle says, as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, prosperity is coming to you now. So this might definitely deal with money and finances, where abundance and prosperity is on the way, as long as you're following what your truth is, as long as you're following what your passion for life is. But remember that prosperity can also come in many different forms. It's not necessarily just money. Prosperity can be a new project, you know, a new idea. It can be support coming from a group of people or another person. It could be a new relationship, for that matter. So just know that prosperity is blessings, you know, so look for the blessings to come into your life, but just make sure, again, that you're following the guidance of your heart, that you're doing what you feel is right for you, what you know in your heart of hearts is right for you, what you desire, okay, not what somebody else desires, but what you desire, what you're passionate about. That's where you need to go next. So I hope you've liked this weekly angel card reading. I send all of you much love and light. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your kind words, for your supportive comments, for all the love. Thank you for the donations that a lot of you have sent through my website. Thank you for coming to Facebook and, you know, messaging me and sending me your videos and Christmas trees and wreaths and light, you know, filled love and blessings. I really am grateful and thankful for each and every one of you. And I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and or happy holidays. So blessings until we meet next week. Love and light to all.